you lies, straight up busted on family ties.
Banging in Brooklyn, grinding in Greenpoint, doing work in Williamsburg, and occasionally making moves in Manhattan. This is Fight Fuel MMA. I am Dave Cup of Coffee Clifford.
And I am Joy, at JoyGNY on Twitter.
And we are fresh off our viewing of UFC 217, and it was an insane card. We are going to take it from the main event down for you. So let's start off by talking about George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping.
Whoo! Well, who saw that coming?
I guess everybody who had GSP is a minus 140 favorite, but...
Yeah, who would have thought that GSP taking 4 years off from fighting and going up a weight class, and going right for the person who holds the belt, who would think that he would, throw out there, his mega mix of, what makes him the best? That first round was just, all, classic GSP, what he is known for. It was crazy. He didn't miss a beat.
GSP compilation. Superman punch, side kick, takedown, long jab. And to cap it off, he gets his first finish in 10 years. He submits Michael Bisping late in the third round with a beautiful rear naked choke after some devastating elbow shots from top position. It was a GSP masterclass. And I had thought Bisping was going to take this fight.
Yeah, me too.
I thought his size was going to be too much for GSP.
And having 4 years off. I mean, any
with
normal
the layoff,
person would be like...
I thought maybe the weight GSP put on was going to slow him down, but he looked smooth, precise, and George St. Pierre fought a perfect fight en route to gaining a new middleweight title.
Yeah, now he is one of the few fighters in the game who has held belts in 2 different weight classes. Mm-hmm. So he absolutely deserves it, especially based on the performance that he gave last night. He really is one of the greatest of all time. We knew that. We always knew that he is one of the greatest of all time. He just cemented it to anyone who would ever even think otherwise.
His standing in MMA was never a question. Just, this was crazy. I mean, perfect fight for George St. Pierre.
Yeah. I mean, besides getting cut up a little bit by Bisping when Bisping was working off of his back doing those short elbows, which were amazing.
Really good.
Other than that, it was all GSP. It was, insane.
And it looked like Bisping was hesitant to engage and move forward.
Yeah, that's another thing. Bisping didn't look like the straight beast that he's been looking like in his past fights. He seemed kind of slow. I guess he was maybe afraid of getting taken down. I'm not really too sure, but...
I think he was afraid of the takedown. He started to put it in the second gear at some point in the fight, but GSP stopped his momentum. The cup
moving
issues,
backwards.
Bisping...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The cup issues were a huge problem as well.
Yeah. Bisping seems like the type of fighter that gets distracted with things like that. Losing his mouthpiece, getting distracted, getting kneed in the face by Silva in their fight, over a year ago. And this, I think GSP kind of tugged down his shorts a little bit when he was going for a takedown and made his cup. I don't really know how cups work.
It took the ties off the cup, so the cup was loose. It was not functional anymore. And then, to keep the fight going, they basically just put the cup in his underwear. There's no stability there. And I think, honestly, Bisping is pretty close to having one eye at this point. It's got to be going through his head, oh man, the last thing I want is to have one ball. That had to have thrown him off a little, to be honest.
For sure. However, whether it did or not, whether it impeded his performance or not, even before having the cup issues, I did notice a difference in his performance in this fight versus most of his other fights where he's successful. He was backpedaling a lot, and normally Bisping comes forward and attacks.
Yeah,
correct?
Bisping likes to move forward, throw volume strikes. His cardio's great, so he can move as much as he wants.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was almost caught up by the fact that he was fighting GSP, or if he just legitimately saw an opponent who he was worried about getting taken down by.
Must have been.
It was a different look.
Yeah, it was
from
a
Bisping.
totally different look, which he and it's crazy because like he totally like played into GSP's strong points. He controlling the fight.
Yeah.
In every aspect.
And I guess the question here is, was GSP able to impose his strength on Bisping, or did Bisping allow GSP to fight his fight? I don't know.
I don't know either, but GSP looked damn good winning, I gotta say. He looked good at 185.
Yeah. Now,
which is cool to see that maybe you don't have to cut weight.
Or as much. Now, GSP bulked up a lot to get to middleweight, and I've heard a rumor that he's considering taking a few years off, putting on about 20 more pounds of muscle mass, and getting rockets installed into his lats, and challenging for the light heavyweight title. No one will be able to stop the rocket-propelled double leg. You just shoot across the octagon, grab you up, the rockets engage, you just through the cage. It's just a rumor. We don't know. But this might be what's happening next for GSP.
Yo, he transformed to get to 185. He's going to evolve.
The next step in MMA evolution. Cybernetic implants.
Well,
maybe.
All that aside, what's next? Bisping almost kind of quasi gave a retirement speech, but then he immediately said, no, I'm not retiring. I'm getting right back in. Yeah, and he said in the post-fight press conference, he made a great point. Like, I don't want my last memory of everyone's memory of me in the octagon, the last moment, me passing out from a choke.
Which I respect that he let himself get put out. I respect that.
Didn't tap.
Yep.
That's pretty badass. But he definitely wants to fight again. They kept mentioning that there's a card in England coming up in March. So that sounds like a really good place to maybe have his last fight. Who knows?
The timing lines up anyway, if it is his last fight or not.
Yeah, he's already been champion. He's already defended the belt a couple times. He's already had the money-making fight against GSP. He's had quite a streak of luck this past year. Almost 2
couple years, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he'll continue moving forward with that. Like, even though he lost against GSP, he still got the money fight, and he still got all this recognition, and he lifted up his trash talk game to another level.
Yeah, he can promote a fight.
Yeah, so, but it's funny because that's how Bisping is. That's just how he is in front of the camera, and he's always been that way. Yeah, he's always been that way. And then it's like it's so funny that like then there's GSP who's just completely focused and just wows us all with like his abilities, and everyone just loves him for it. Well, most people,
and he doesn't talk any trash.
He doesn't need to talk trash.
He was apologizing in the post-fight interview.
Once.
Well, yeah, his famous not impressed with your performance speech to Matt Hughes. Which he said he felt bad about. It's just cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, and to be able to be that popular and not need to have this big persona, like pro wrestling like persona, to just be popular because you're so great at what you do and you're so respected in the community
it's a rare accomplishment.
Yeah, that's when you're really a GOAT.
And we're going to come back to that later on in this video, referring to another fighter. But for now, we're going to get on to the co-main.
Yes, co-main event. We were surprised.
I was surprised.
At the results.
We had Cody Garbrandt, the bantamweight champ, was fighting TJ Dillashaw, the former bantamweight champ. The culmination of their bad blood feud stemming from Dillashaw leaving Team Alpha Male and accusations by Garbrandt of doping and Dillashaw purposefully hurting training partners. A lot of emotion going into the fight, and we both thought that Garbrandt was going to be able to harness that emotion like he did in the Dominic Cruz fight and put TJ away.
He almost did.
At the end of the first round of the fight,
it's close.
He had Dillashaw stunned. He had him wobbled.
Bad.
And Dillashaw
He was almost out.
Yeah,
he was out.
I don't think he wasn't out. He was rocked. He was rocked.
Totally rocked. And he was so lucky that he had the minutes to recover because he was able to capitalize on a mistake that, as Garbrandt said, he had made a mistake But he put his left hand down or something like that, or his right hand down.
Everything's a mistake.
And,
yeah.
But, I mean, he thinks he's the better fighter. I agree.
Does.
I think Garbrandt's a better fighter than Dillashaw. However, he wasn't last night.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a better fighter. I think he does some things better. I think Dillashaw does some things better.
If you're just saying, like, overall, like, I thought Garbrandt was going to win. He literally almost won.
And the thing is, he almost won after the 10-second clapper went off in the first round. And I find a lot of times fighters will respond to that 10-second warning in a couple of different ways. Some fighters, I think, take it as a subconscious cue that the round's almost over, you're going to coast these last 10 seconds, go back to your stool. Some fighters want to engage in that last 10 seconds to put a stamp on the round, and sometimes they leave themselves open when doing so. I don't know if that's the case in this fight, but if you look back, a lot of fights, that 10-second clapper brings on a subtle change in fighting style from the fighters involved in the fight. Was that the case in this fight? Was that why Dillashaw got caught? I think it's just Garbrandt's sound fundamental boxing, but it's something that I have noticed throughout the years watching MMA.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to rewatch it and get really, like, close, like, watching it in slow motion or whatever to see if the 10-second went off or when it went off and see if there were any subtle changes. But maybe that's something we'll get into in another video.
Yeah, it's definitely worth investing 10 seconds of our time.
Yeah, so great performance by Dillashaw.
Amazing, and
really good kicks, huh?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Garbrandt is more powerful, and I think his straight boxing is more sound. But Dillashaw has a much more diverse striking arsenal and more facility of movement.
Yeah.
And that's what let him win the fight. He was throwing different attacks, and he caught Cody with that kick that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. It was real unfortunate. I don't know.
And then there was
I really thought that Garbrandt had it.
So,
I mean, it's fortunate for Dillashaw because now he stakes his claim in coming down to 125.
He wants
to
Mighty
get that
Mouse.
super fight, which I don't know.
I would like to see that fight. I want to see it. I'd like to see it at 125 pounds. I mean,
Dillashaw says he can make it. He says he puts on muscle for 135.
He looks
walks
like
around
he puts
at
on
150.
muscle.
He definitely puts on muscle. He looked like freaking Blanca with like Doug Funny's face in there.
But the thing is, this is a fight that you could make at 125, or you could try to negotiate at 135. It gives both fighters an opportunity to win a new belt. If I'm Mighty Mouse, I want the fight at 25. Cody's obviously willing to go down at 25. So if it does take place, I think that's where it would be. That would be an insane fight. That would be a legitimate, the biggest test of Demetrius Johnson's 125.
Dillashaw, you think?
Yeah, because he's coming down from a higher weight class.
Yeah,
he's a great
think
fighter.
He's going to be depleted by then. Right?
He will be depleted.
He says he's not, but I don't know. He has so much like I feel like the way he looked at 135.
He's lean.
It's all like there's no fat. Like what are you cutting? You're cutting muscle, and like what does that do to you?
Depletes you.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
If Johnson's smart, he's going to campaign for it at 25 if he wants to fight at all. Johnson may have his reasons for not wanting to fight. Nothing due to being scared. Just he might not want to fight Dillashaw. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. For Garbrandt, he wants to get that belt back, and he seems like the type that he could.
Yeah, I think he could be back there.
Yeah,
I think he could be back there.
Yeah, he really won me over. I wasn't too keen on him, or I wasn't too sure of how great he was at first. You know, unranked, and then within a year got the belt. I'm like, what the? But especially his last performance really put the stamp on it against Cruz.
Fight against Cruz, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm rooting for him. I really want to see him come back, and for Dillashaw, yeah, make that super fight. Cut that weight. Let's see what happens.
There you go. Now, we've got the third title fight on the card. We had the former strawweight queen, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, versus the kind of unknown quantity in Rose Namajunas. And that is the least likely scenario for a finish to a fight that you could have imagined inside the realms of possibility.
Yeah. We had, most everyone was predicting Jędrzejczyk to get the victory, to pick her apart from the outside and break her down and get most likely a finish in some form within those 5 rounds.
Like a textbook.
That's what everyone was assuming. Because Rose is 25 years old. She doesn't have a lot of fights comparatively. And some of her past performances, you see all of her raw talent. So talented. But just not completely thought out. Mm-hmm. And at least I thought, like, okay, she is a future champion, hands down. Like, I've said that before. But it's just like, it's too soon for her. And Jędrzejczyk, she's unbeatable right now. And holy crap. I was just like, what? We were all just like, what?
It was insane. That's the thing, like, with Namajunas' fight against Carolina, it seemed like Namajunas had that fight to win, and there was a mental lapse or poor game planning or failure to execute, and she lost a fight she could have won. And then you take Jędrzejczyk, who beat Carolina, who is so laser-focused in her attack that it just didn't seem likely.
Everyone's attacks.
Yeah, that Rose was going to be able to overcome the Jędrzejczyk attack. And first round, KO victory.
Crazy.
Joanna tapped to strikes. That is implausible. Crazy.
She's one of the toughest, most intense, most vicious strawweights ever.
Rose made her tap to strikes. That is a legendary performance. Rose rose to the occasion. It was crazy. We had thought if Rose was going to win, it was going to be with a sub.
A slick submission.
Slick.
She did a slick.
Crafty.
Yeah.
Just took her out with striking.
And I always thought she had, she's kind of like a highlight reel, right? Of her wins. Mm-hmm. That, like she had that flying armbar, and like she gets like a sick, she got that sick choke on, Michelle Waterson, and she has like that, like, I don't know if it's like high risk, high reward type.
It's visually exciting finishes.
Aspects of her game. So, you would think, like, in order for her to get Jędrzejczyk, she would have to do a crazy high risk, high reward type of flying armbar, or,
try to jump guard or jump the back.
Yeah.
But no.
But holy crap. Like,
straightforward
she
striking.
She just stayed so calm in there. And that is maturity that is just beyond comprehension. Like, anyone else, hands down, anyone else who would face Jędrzejczyk in the strawweight division today wouldn't have been able to keep calm and keep composure in such a way to find an opening, to capitalize on the opening, and to get the finish. So that is such beyond incredible performance by Rose, and I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
It's bittersweet because we love Rose. We think she's
Joanna
awesome.
Too,
but
is the thing.
Johanna is like one of my favorite fighters. I think she is so talented and she's so tenacious, and I know you know what? In MMA, anything can happen. And I feel like if they fought again, it could go differently.
Definitely.
And if it were a different day of the week, it would have gone a different way. You know what I mean? But when it's at the top, when you're at the top for so long, when you're defending your belt for so long, it's like everyone's coming to get you. Yep. And then it becomes not, how can I be the best strawweight, but how can I beat the champion? The dominant champion. I feel like that happened with Dominic Cruz. I feel like that kind of happened with Ronda Rousey.
Yep.
And it's almost like Garbrandt said, like, to beat Cruz, like he idolized him when he was younger, and having all of that pressure is just insane. So it's hard for, I just feel like it's hard for any champion to defend that many times.
And that's what that's why some fighters are champions and some are, I think, as George was saying, elite champions, just people who can roast in that fire of pressure and find a way to maintain their top status.
Yeah, and you do it for so long, and even GSP, as great as he is, he had to step down and take time off.
He knew what he had to do for himself. Yeah.
So it's no knock on that, no knock on the loss. Like, Johanna, like, is so tough, and she's gonna come back, and I was so happy that she did the post-fight press conference, and I wouldn't see her doing it any other way, but she faced it like a champion. So and they all did. They all did. The thing is,
now you got Rose, who is the champion, and this is what we were talking about with GSP's refusal to engage in trash talk, attempt to just be a good figure for MMA. Rose wins, and she just goes, "Listen, let's try to be good people." She's like, "This championship is great, but," she said, "she's a regular person. Nothing special."
This belt means nothing.
I disagree. Right? Rose is special, but
she's very special.
She's just saying this is the reward of her labor, but she doesn't want to let it change. She was trying to kind of send a message of positivity, and
which was beautiful.
Now we're gonna see if Rose holds that belt for a while. We're gonna see how Rose behaves as a champion. And I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think much is going to change.
No, I think Rose is...
She's... Try to pick her out, like, mental illness or this or that. She's so level-headed.
She's a down-to-earth woman.
Yeah. Being so young and getting a title shot so young and being the first strawweight to get a title shot in the UFC, the pressure that was on her, how she performed in the Tough House was just amazing, and just watching her every week, we were just like, holy shit. We wanted her to win so bad against Esparza, but she just kind of like broke down in that fight, and then to see how far she's come from then with all that raw talent, seeing her get those wins over everyone, and then to lose the belt, but to come back. How many years ago was that? 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, like 3 years ago.
3 years ago? In 3 years, to go from that to who she is today, how she performed, how she handled herself through the media, and how she's handling herself immediately after the fights is just amazing. And that is something that young girls should look up to because of what she's overcome over the years. And I think is so commendable, and I'm so happy that she has the belt right now, and I hope she can hold on to it.
Me too.
But there's most likely going to be a direct rematch. And who knows what's going to happen.
Joanna might have a rematch clause built into her contract.
Yeah.
We don't know, but we're going to have to see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rematch.
Next on the card, we had Jorge Masvidal versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
We were right.
we were right on this pick.
Finally. This was such a crazy card.
Now,
anything can happen in MMA, but we got this one right.
I heard a couple people say they thought this fight was not that entertaining. I thought it was.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought it was an amazing display of
Yes.
technical striking on Wonderboy's part. And Masvidal showed how tough of a fighter he is. To finish that guy, to get him out of a fight is damn near impossible.
Masvidal or Thompson?
Masvidal.
Yeah.
But Stephen Thompson
You're not finishing him.
has this insane leg control. It's like he's got a hinge on his knee. When he throws those things out there, he'll whip that shin over from all sorts of weird angles, and he's so quick with his leg striking. Mm-hmm. It's a thing of beauty to watch.
Yeah, that was a great fight. I thought it was so exciting. It was,
even
in the spots where they were just kind of, there wasn't a lot of exchanges going on. There was exchange, like non-physical exchanges going on in this mental game between the two of them. And Jorge Masvidal, I think, is an excellent fighter. He's always going to be entertaining no matter what. So I don't care what anyone else says. But he played into Stephen Thompson's game.
Yeah, no attempts to get the fight to the ground. Yeah. Masvidal likes to fight standing, but also he was a little too complacent in there, and he allowed Thompson. Joy was talking about the mental exchanges. You could see Thompson waiting for his chance to explode. All of his movements are there to give himself that split second to go from tends to relax, to just explode strikes out. He doesn't push anything. It's always a snap, a drive. And when he's circling on the outside, when he's going foot position, he's just looking for that little opening to explode into and score that strike. It's the kind of style that keeps you on the edge of your seat,
yes,
waiting to see
yes,
what strike he's going to throw, how it's going to land. Really exciting display of technical striking. It was really impressive.
Yeah, that's one thing that is about Thompson, is that he is probably, definitely the most gifted striker in the welterweight division.
Yeah, I would say, if not the best, one of them. Yeah, possibly the best.
Yeah.
And he did mention after the fight he thinks he hurt or broke his thumb.
Both thumbs.
He said he hit both. I think there was one he was shaken out. He said he wasn't sure if he caught an elbow or Masvidal's head, but we got to check the injury report, see if it is broken, if he's going to be sidelined for any extended amount of time. Overall, I mean, I thought Masvidal showed he's a good, durable, tough fighter who's always in there and will give you a hell of a fight.
Yes. But
that he was a little too content to keep the fight in Thompson's area of expertise. And Thompson was Thompson. He was doing him, and it was cool.
It was great to see him get to do what he is the best at. So that was I just applaud them both for putting on such an exciting fight. Masvidal, you make me so mad because it's like I know it's there. It's like just I don't know. Maybe, hopefully he learns from this and he goes out and he really shows us what he's all about, because I really want to see him get another win.
Yeah.
After what the performance he did against Cowboy, like.
And survived on the ground with Maya.
Yeah. Like, he is one tough guy.
Yeah.
And I just, next fight, we want to see you in your genre, in your wheelhouse. Well, bring it. And
right.
Thompson, I don't even know what's next for him. Hopefully, if his thumbs are okay.
Yeah, hopefully not an injury layoff.
I don't even know who you would fight next. Can't fight Woodley again.
Nope. You can't.
Please.
Can't fight him 3 times that quick.
Whatever,
I don't want to see it anyway.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens with that, and we're just gonna move on to the next fight.
And on to the fight that kicked off the main card. We had Paulo Costa versus Johnny Hendricks.
Unfortunately, we picked this one right. Although we wanted Johnny Hendricks to win, but he didn't.
Hendricks, he just doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't look like the Hendricks who went on a title run and was knocking out welterweights left and right.
Beating GSP.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first thing is, he is not a middleweight. I know at 170 he couldn't make that weight anymore, but 185 is not good for him either. For this fight, he made weight, which is great, that's a plus, and he looked better than he had formerly at middleweight. Like against Boch, he looked very soft and he missed weight. Here he looked like he had spent some time with his strength and conditioning, looked a little in better shape, but he's too small. He's not a middleweight, and he's moving up and fighting massive guys, and he's not the same Johnny Hendricks he was. It's a recipe for what you saw at UFC 217.
Yeah, moving up in weight is a very risky thing, and you need a lot of smart people behind you that know how to get you in the best physical shape in order to take on bigger opponents. Like, GSP did it perfectly. Like, he's a prime example of a welterweight moving to middleweight and doing it the right way. It's just like, Hendricks is doing it because he has to, because he can't get his diet together. So it's so frustrating.
And, to be fair to Hendricks, maybe it is unhealthy now for him to make 170. Maybe he just can't do it. Mm-hmm. But, again, just middleweight's not good for him either. I think he's...
No, not without proper nutritionists and proper people behind you, putting on the muscle that you need to put on in order to compensate for the size difference.
Right. And he's at a terrible place in his career now. We mentioned the extreme losing streak he's been on. This was his losing
streak.
This was his chance to right the ship. If he had won, he would have beat Paulo Costa, who's a hot Brazilian prospect. The kid is jacked. He looks impressive. He's got some hype behind him, and if Hendricks could have turned him back, people would have said, all right, look, Hendricks is at middleweight, he's doing all right now, let's see what's going to happen. Instead, he became a stepping stone and a name for Costa. And good on Costa. He fought well.
Yeah. No, he did. Good performance.
I was impressed with his performance because the past two fights that we watched with him...
Oh, true. He's improved.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's improved a decent amount from raw power, right? Big muscles, raw power, right? Wasn't too keen on his technical following through of what's the word?
Prowess, ability.
No, technical execution.
There you go.
Execution. His technical execution of his, what he's good on, which is,
face punching.
Face punching.
Mm-hmm. And body kicks.
Body kicks.
But we watched his last two fights in the UFC, and what we saw was a guy who had tons of power, who was blitzkrieg fighting, and who gassed himself out.
Yes.
But in this fight against Hendricks, he really controlled his pace. When it was the time to turn it on, he turned it up, and he got his finish, and he looked crisper. So he's a real prospect now. And
for sure.
For him, this was a best-case scenario fight.
Yeah.
You get a former champ who's a lot smaller than you, who ain't doing that great, but he's still got a name, and you stop him. And now...
And he did.
He's going to be in discussions for bigger fights. So he did exactly what he had to do.
Yeah, so good for him.
He was good on the mic, too.
Yeah.
The interview. Learned English, which is important. They'll promote you way more if you speak English.
True.
He knows what he's got to do.
Yeah, so... See what's coming up for him. Hendricks, man, I have
no
know.
idea. I don't know.
Oh, trying to go back to 170.
I don't think he can anymore.
No.
I think it would be...
He could barely make 185
He would
at this
be
point.
hurting himself, drastically to make 170.
Yeah, it's really sad. All right, I guess it's time to hang up the gloves then.
I don't know. Listen, that's a decision he's got to make, but I wouldn't be unhappy to say... I don't know.
I can't imagine that the UFC is going to want to keep him after all that.
I don't know. He's in a really tough spot. We got to see what he does, but no matter what, he's given us a bunch of great fights.
Yeah, and amazing fights.
Yeah, and if he comes back and fights, I'll still watch him.
Of course. Yeah. I'm just my heart hurts.
Yeah, you don't like to see a guy who was once so dominant just get beat up consistently, fight after fight. It's not something you enjoy as a fan.
No. All right. Well, that was the main card. Overall, amazing card. Amazing,
I thought it was the best card of the year.
That
Phenomenal.
really kept you on your toes.
Surprising. Shit happened that I never would have expected.
Yeah. So great matchmaking. Great matchmaking. Great order of fights. Great venue. The crowd was hilarious.
Oh, the fights delivered.
I fucking love New York.
GSP's getting rockets implanted into his lats.
Yeah.
This is... I don't know.
It
was crazy.
Shit. So overall, we were very happy with the card. What did you guys think of the card? Did you think it was amazing? Were you surprised? Did you pick right? Did you say that Rose was going to knock out Johanna in the first round?
Anybody pick Rose to win via tap out stoppage? Get at us. Let us know what your picks were, what you thought. Tell us you don't like our picks. Yeah, Tell us GSP is the best, the greatest.
Yeah. One more thing that I just want to talk about was there were two in the prelims. There were two DQ awkward finishes. On the card, and Dana White was like, "Oh, this was one of the greatest cards ever." But there were two shady stoppages, weird things,
occurrences. Same ref.
Poor ref.
I feel bad for that guy.
But that was, I don't know, does that make it knock it down a notch as far as greatest card of all time to have Harris?
I don't think it was the greatest card of all
Harris
time.
Illegal shot.
Harris kneeing his man in the balls and then head kicking him while the ref was screaming time and had both hands on him.
Yeah, that was one of the prelims.
That's fucked up. And Harris is saying he's contesting the DQ loss. You just decided to kick the guy in the head. You heard the ref and you felt him. Get the fuck out of here. Absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And the other
definite DQ. I don't
I think it was
disagree.
intentional. Yeah.
I agree with the fact that it was a DQ. When I saw it happen, I'm like, DQ, fight's over, because that totally changes the rest of the fight.
Absolutely.
Getting kicked in the head after getting kicked in the balls, like,
that's double
fucked
impact
up,
right
man.
there. Yeah, you're all sorts of fucked up after that.
So there was that, and then in the early prelims...
But Harris was tweeting, calling Godbeer a pussy or some shit.
He apologized to him.
Yeah, well, not on Twitter.
Yeah.
Bad showing. And the other fight...
I don't know about that.
The other fight,
our guy, Oleanik, first of all, that was some old school UFC style.
Throwback fight!
Early Fight Pass prelims, watch that fight. It was really
like
good,
that fight.
except the stoppage. He fought against Curtis Blades, and it was an attempted illegal strike that didn't land.
Blades threw a kick at Oleanik's head while he was down.
He missed.
He missed. You can't kick an animal, fine.
Yeah, he did make contact, but it wasn't anything
significant. Grazed the ear. And whether the language barrier...
I think it was a language problem because the ref said... it was like they had replay and like that was illegal in New York or something like that.
But they weren't using the replay.
But they could use the replay.
They could, but they didn't.
They called
then they
the fight. So the illegal shot happened. Illegal attempted strike was not significant. It just grazed the ear while Oleanik was down, a downed opponent, and the guy calls time. Then they call the fight because the doctor has to come in, and Curtis Blades is like, "What the fuck? Like I didn't even hit him."
Yeah, he's freaking out.
And the doctor is trying to communicate with Oleanik, and so based on what was said. What the ref heard, it was, I am a bit wobbled, but I can continue. Yeah. The doctor might have heard him say, I'm a bit wobbled. I can't continue. Or I don't really know what happened in between, but the doctor called the fight then.
Yeah,
and then they were determining whether it was a DQ or a TKO.
And you know what? Oleanik probably wasn't going to win that fight, but that's a bad way for Blades to win. It's a bad way for Oleanik to lose.
It was just a terrible
that
ending.
fight did give us some excellent
those uppercuts,
collar tie to uppercut action. Though that was, you got to watch this fight if you haven't seen the UFC from 15 years ago. You watch this fight, and this is what it's like.
This is all this.
And on that note, we're gonna go.
Yeah, on that note, so watch it if you haven't. I wouldn't even why would you be watching this right now if you haven't watched it? Like, this is awesome.
Rewatch it.
Watch it again, and let us know what you think.
I'm a nigga that's focused
Get
on
at
a mission.
From
Superior skills, my
Brooklyn, New York.
comprehension. I really don't
We
need
out.
to ease the tension. I won't be defeated by apprehension. Same thing that is real life. No Joe Rogan, no bright lights, no scorpions, and no snake bites. Let you rap bad niggas get stage fright.